In the heart of Mecca City, where the streets were always alive with honking cars and hurried footsteps, stood Bright Future Academy, a school known for its excellence and its famous street food vendor, Mama Koko. Mama Koko was a massive woman, her round belly shaking as she laughed, her dark eyes always gleaming. She sold the tastiest food in the city: puff-puff, jollof rice, spicy suya, and steaming akara. Every student at Bright Future Academy had tasted her food at least once. Some claimed it was addictive, but nobody knew her secret. Mama Koko was no ordinary woman. She had lived for over 100 years, yet she never aged. Her skin remained smooth, her black hair thick. She had discovered a dark secret long ago. To stay young and powerful, she needed to steal the souls of students. But she couldn't just take them. No, she had to make them eat her food willingly. Once a student ate too much of her special meal, their soul became trapped in her belly, and their body would slowly wither away. The first victim. It started with Bolu, a bright 14-year-old boy with a love for food. Every day after school, he bought a plate of Mama Koko's jollof rice, licking his fingers as he devoured every last grain. One evening, as he ate, he noticed something strange. His body felt light. Too light. His vision blurred, and suddenly, he saw a shadowy version of himself standing beside him. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Mama Koko only smiled. "My dear," she whispered, "you belong to me now." The next morning, Bolu did not wake up. His parents found his lifeless body, his skin pale, his eyes sunken. But strangely, his mouth was still red from jollof sauce. A city in fear. One by one, students began falling sick. Some collapsed in class. Others simply vanished, their uniforms left in empty seats. But the strangest part: Mama Koko never lacked customers. Her food smelled even sweeter. Her laugh grew louder. And her belly, it shook more than ever, as if something inside was trying to escape. The final meal. One girl, Amaka, noticed the pattern. She saw the students who ate the most from Mama Koko's stall were the ones disappearing. Determined to stop her, Amaka devised a plan. She gathered her friends, and together, they watched Mama Koko from a distance. One night, they followed her home. They expected a small house, but what they found was a shrine. Human bones littered the floor. A giant pot boiled in the center, filled not with food, but with floating, ghostly faces, screaming silently. Amaka gasped. Mama Koko turned around. "You should not have come here," she said, her voice not human anymore. Her body began to stretch, her skin turning dark and shadowy. Her belly ripped open, and from inside, the trapped souls of the students wailed, their hands reaching for freedom. Amaka and her friends ran, but they knew the truth now. The next morning, the city was in chaos. The school shut down the food stalls. Parents refused to let their children eat outside anymore. And Mama Koko? She vanished. Some say she fled the city. Others claim she melted into the shadows, waiting for another school, another group of students to feed on. But one thing was certain. If you ever smell jollof rice, too sweet, too rich, run. Because Mama Koko might be watching. For weeks, the city of Mecca buzzed with rumors about Mama Koko's disappearance. Parents warned their children about eating food from street vendors. Teachers at Bright Future Academy installed cameras around the school. But the students couldn't forget. Some swore they still heard her laughter in the wind. Others claimed they could still smell her food, even though her stall was gone. Then, one night, Amaka's little brother, Tob, went missing. The Whispering Bellies. Amaka had been extra careful since that night at Mama Koko's shrine. She refused to eat anything she hadn't cooked herself. She told her brother, Tob, never to eat from strangers. But hunger has a way of making people forget. Tob had stayed late at school for football practice. As he walked home, the air suddenly filled with a sweet, spicy aroma, one he recognized immediately. Jollof rice. But not just any jollof. Mama Koko's jollof. His stomach rumbled. That's when he saw her. Not as a fat woman with a shaking belly, but as a young, beautiful lady in a bright red dress, holding a steaming plate of rice. Poor child, she cooed. You must be so hungry. Tob hesitated. Something in his head screamed run. But his body didn't listen. His hands moved on their own, taking the plate. The first bite was heaven. The second bite, even better. By the third bite, Tob disappeared. The search begins. When Tob didn't come home that night, Amaka knew. She gathered her friends, Chidi, Fola, and Zora, the same ones who had followed Mama Koko before. They had defeated her once, and they would do it again. But where would they find her? She's smarter this time, Chidi muttered. She's hiding. Fola's eyes widened. What if she's inside someone? A chill ran through the group. Mama Koko could possess people. That's why she looked younger when Tob saw her. She had taken a new body. And that meant she could be anyone. The next day at school, a new food vendor appeared. A slim woman with braided hair and bright red lipstick, selling food to hungry students. Amaka recognized her instantly. It was Mama Koko, but in a different body. She was laughing, serving food, her belly already growing rounder. The more students ate, the more her stomach swelled. Tob was still alive. She was feeding on him. Amaka had to act fast. Desperate, she ran to her grandmother's house. Her grandmother, Mama Chi, was a well-known herbalist. When Amaka told her everything, Mama Chi only nodded. I know what she is, she said. I know how to stop her. She handed Amaka a small bottle of black oil. This oil is made from the roots of the bitter death tree, Mama Chi whispered. If you pour it into her food, she will be forced to release the souls she has swallowed. But how do I make her eat it? Amaka asked. Her grandmother smiled. She feeds on greed. So you must tempt her the way she tempts others. The final battle. That night, Amaka and her friends prepared a special meal. They cooked a plate of jollof rice, but instead of seasoning it with pepper, they mixed it with the black oil. The next morning, they lined up at Mama Koko's stall. Amaka smiled at her. I made something for you, she said, handing her the plate. Mama Koko's eyes gleamed. You made food? For me? Amaka nodded. You always feed us. It's time we fed you. Mama Koko couldn't resist. She took a bite. Then another. Her eyes widened. She clutched her belly. Something was wrong. A horrible scream tore from her throat as her stomach began to burst open. From inside her body, dozens of ghostly figures emerged, students she had devoured over the years. They flew into the air, twisting and turning, their wails filling the sky. Among them was Tob. Mama Koko is finished, Chidi shouted. The ground cracked beneath her. Her body began melting into black smoke. She tried to grab Amaka, but her fingers turned to dust. No! Mama Koko shrieked. I will return. I will always return. With one final scream, she vanished.